What were your takeaways from the college football semis, or just the New Year's Eve? I don't know why I call it New England. New Year's Eve college football. What struck you, CA, when it came to these games, or just New Year's football?
These semis were absolutely amazing. I mean, you had one going to overtime. They had the last one come down to the last possession, the last pass. It was absolutely amazing, and you cannot be mad at the two teams that won. Michigan was the number one team in the nation, undefeated. Washington had the longest winning streak in the nation after Georgia got knocked out. So Washington has now won 21 consecutive games. They have the number one passing offense in college football. Michigan's got the top-ranked defense in college football. Alabama tried. Here's the deal. Locally around here, state of Texas, everybody wanted to see a Texas-Alabama rematch. Even Alabama people wanted to get that one loss off of their chest and avenge that loss to the Longhorns in Tuscaloosa. It didn't happen, but I'm not mad at the teams that won, because the way they played, man, it's going to be a great game next week on Monday night when Michigan takes on Washington for the national championship.
Yeah, man. Got some takeaways coming in on the truckwreck.com text line for the 940. They said, finally, Bama isn't relevant, which I think is an interesting takeaway, because the thing that I had misjudged about this competition, I talked about going into it, Alabama has explosive plays that they can get off, yes, right? Jalen Milroe, especially coming into this year, it was like he didn't grab a hold of that job. They had, benched him at one point, and he isn't, or at least he did not look like a incredible college football quarterback. But one thing that happened over the course of the season is Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator, and the team in general, realized that he has a few qualities and capabilities that are really good. He has an incredible deep ball, and they know that they can attack down the field, and he has some mobility. And so they structured that team and that offense around those things. And once they did that, you saw this Alabama team be really good in those regards. And I was like, look, this Michigan defense is very good, but in the Big Ten, they have not played a team that can stretch them the way that I think Alabama can. The thing that I forgot, though, is that Alabama all season has looked so hard for them to get things done. Mm-hmm. It's just looked difficult when they were getting things done. And it probably says a lot about what Alabama is just as a program, that this is a year where they go to a college football semifinal, they still win the SEC championship game, and this is the down year that people are saying that they're not relevant, right? That says a lot about that program. But no, it definitely isn't quite the same as years past, but it looks difficult in a way against a Michigan team where they're going to stifle you running the football. If they were not explosive, which they weren't, then they didn't have a shot, and that ultimately felt like it was what won the game for Michigan. This was the style of play that Michigan likes playing. They like being able to run the football. They like it being relatively low scoring, and I think it fit into Michigan's wheelhouse, and they ultimately won this game being a really good, well-rounded football team.
Yes, they did, and little shout out to TCU, a backhanded shout out from their quarterback after the game. He was giving props to the Frogs, because people forget a year ago, TCU blew out Michigan. They blew them out in the
100%,
semifinal
100%.
And then got their own behinds blown out by Georgia in the championship game. But they said that motivated them. The way TCU handled them, they said, it's rare to get these opportunities. That's what the quarterback was saying. It's rare to get these opportunities, and that drove them the entire season. Again, they went undefeated. They beat Ohio State for the second year in a row. They were winning games with Harbaugh sitting in the hotel room as the controversy was swirling in the courts and whatnot. As the lawsuits are flying, so to speak. But the bottom line is Michigan's there. Big Blue is there. It's an entire fan base over there that's going to be headed down to Houston. And then you got Washington. They're headed to the Big Ten, but not without claiming the Pac-12 and then saying, you know what, we're going to get us a national championship along the way.
Man, Washington is a really fun team. I want to talk more about them, but I do want to throw this in here where Cam Good of Michigan was talking a little bit of stuff. They were on the field at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena after. They're just chilling out and talking their talk. Listen to this.
We beat Bama fair and square. That's all I'm going to say. Fair and square. Y'all see it. Y'all see it? We beat the referees and Bama. How about that? And whoever bet on Bama, I apologize.
We were more shocked that Florida State didn't make it. We wasn't worried about Bama, but, you guys saw the results. And, man, we got the dub, and that's all that matters, man. The roses smell real good.
On the sidelines, they don't know.
We beat Bama fair and square, and also we were more surprised that Florida State didn't make it. We weren't worried about Bama.
Oh, they were talking about trash. They're talking about trash.
But when you win,
they know they were scared to death because that game went into overtime.
It did go into overtime. And
they
look,
can talk that noise all they want, but that game went into overtime. In other words, I think they outplayed Alabama, but Alabama didn't give up.
No, they didn't. But a lot of credit is due to Sharon Moore, offensive play caller, when it comes to Michigan.
Yep.
They definitely worked some things out in a way and allowed that team to,
I like the way they used that receiver, Wilson. I think he's the one that scored the touchdown that sent it into overtime. That dude is the little dude from Hawaii. His name Wilson, or is it Collins? The little dude from Hawaii who scored a touchdown, and I think he botched the play earlier in the game. He said, "Please get it to me again. I promise I'll make this up." And he did it twice. Boy, it was huge.
And look, you got to love it because those are the instances, those are the opportunities that make legend, or at least those are the redemption stories that are really fun in college football. Not a redemption story, Washington showing up in a big way and like validating some folks that believed in them, because this is a Washington team, or maybe I guess in a way making fun of the folks that did not believe in them. Washington throughout the course of this season, almost like consistently, I know ESPN can catch this because they're like the big bad leader or what have you. They've had a lot of instances where in games Washington was not favored, and they just have continued to win games. Both teams undefeated, mind you, so we will have an undefeated national champion. Washington just survived all year. A great offense, defense that's, solid, but Washington just got out here and looked uncatchable when it came to, or I guess that's funny because they caught everything, but it looked like they were unstoppable when it came to the passing game. There was absolutely no pressure on Michael Penix, who got a lot of shine in this game, a lot of love through the course of this one.
Let me
and they
something.
barely held on, even though Kalen DeBoer made a little bit of a funny decision down.
Listen, Penix completed 29 out of 38 for 430 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's going straight to the pros. You already know this. His transfer.
He needs to, dog. You've been here a while, buddy.
Yeah, he made it to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. And you mentioned survive. That's the exact ways to describe what they've done, because they're the first team since they started they said in 1960. One of these polls when it first started, AP or one of them, 1960. The first team to win 10 straight games by 10 points or less. That's close games. That's called surviving. In other words, in college football, there's always some blowouts, especially if you're a dominant team. But to go undefeated and win 10 consecutive games now with 10 points or less within that margin, that's called getting it done and believing in yourself and not being scared of the moment.
And believing in the things that go well, right? You mentioned Michael Penix. You also talked about how he'll be a Sunday player in a way, getting a lot of draft love, lefty quarterback who, the people in the know, shout out to Carter Freeman also, 105 through the fan here.
He knows his college football.
The people that are in the know have really liked him and the opportunity that he had in leaving Indiana, transferring to Washington, and having an opportunity to really show his wares. And then also the Washington receiving corps, when you talk about Roma Dunze, you talk about Polk, and you talk about, what's my other guy? I always forget my third guy there, McMillan. Those are the 3 wide receivers that are all NFL caliber players. And the thing that I mentioned going into this game is, in college football, having 3 NFL quality wide receivers is just something that doesn't happen. And how many teams in the nation do you think have 3 defensive backs to be able to account for those 3 wide receivers?
Right.
There aren't very many of those. And Texas doesn't. I don't think they have that nearly at all. And so you saw the ways in which those guys, you threw the ball down the field, and outside of like a really tactical pass interference, Texas didn't have anything to stop that. And so ultimately, you have that level of playmaking down the field. You can make some things go and make it really tough on the University of Texas.
What you're going to be hearing about is all week long is Washington's got the number 1 passing attack and Michigan's got the number 1 defense. We'll see how that holds up. But back to Texas itself, that was, first of all, I went to OU. So I've always said this, I don't hate UT because I want them to be good. So when we beat them, it means something. But I was like, man, if they were to win this game, I give them credit for never giving up and being tough. But I felt bad that running back for Washington, he got hurt.
Yeah.
And the clock was running out, but he couldn't even walk. They had to carry him off the field.
Dylan Johnson, the running back?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was a team leader, and he was playing through all that pain, and it wasn't a an illegal tackle. They tackled him because he's trying to get a first down rather.
And some of that was, called into question because Kalen DeBoer, if he just has his team kneel the ball out, he can take off a lot of the time.
Even the play before that, he ran a running attack. It was like a run play. I was like, wait a minute. All you do is take some knees and then punt it. And then if Texas got 13 seconds left or something. But no, he was running, and his number one running back is now hurt. We don't know if he's going to be able to play next Monday.
They're hopeful that he'll play, and they need it because Washington does not have another running back. Like, obviously, there's some on the roster, but nobody that has gotten any level of
number
attention.
7.
No. And so that's going to be tough for them. Not that they are a prolific running attack, but you need to be able to run the football.
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen that with the Cowboys.
Run, so to let Penix do his thing.
I mean, just in general, like you cannot. I don't think you can lean entirely 100% passing in any level of high football, and so they're going to need Dylan Johnson. Hopefully for them, he can get up there and play. I know you were talking about the Texas is back situation, and I did feel good about this Texas season.
I did too.
I'm not going to say it like they are now a dynasty, but one of the tough things about Texas, and you'll know this being an Oklahoma fan who sees them a lot up close and personal. They had an air of filling themselves over the course of a long time. In fact, it was a long-held concern about this program. And this was a Texas team that also, if they had been in this season or in this position in a game like that where they needed to battle and scrap and stay in it, they'd let go of the rope. This is a team that kept fighting. Now, ultimately, you have some questions for Steve Sarkisian late in the game where you're dropping down passes, short of the sticks, and Quinn Ewers is throwing a viable option for maybe trying to get a touchdown out the back of the end zone. And so you only get 1 out of 4 plays as a viable passable or catchable pass, and that one is defended perfectly. However, they were there at the end, which there's a lot of Texas teams over the last decade that would not have been there.
Exactly. They had a lot of heart. They showed it throughout the year. I said this when I was talking about I don't hate University of Texas. Again, if they had won the national championship, I'd have been happy for them because I'd have been able to say, I don't care. We still beat y'all in the Cotton Bowl. Because that was my whole point. We at least beat y'all. I want it to mean something when we beat y'all. Texas looks really good this year. I hope they continue their success. I'm talking about next season. I hope Ewers comes back. And then, Manning family loves Sark. That's why Arch Manning is there. So hopefully he doesn't jump into the portal himself. But that being said, I think a lot of teams, a lot of talent will be gravitating towards Texas. As far as how the end of the game went for them, like I said, they showed a lot of heart. They didn't give up. As far as the end of the season, as far as the game itself looked, and they weren't as dominant as they were in the Big 12 championship game. I always look at all these 4 teams played yesterday. You have a damn month off. How much consistency can you have? Imagine if the NFL teams had an entire month off. Oh, they still have some finals to take, as if some of these guys, take classes. But at the same time, they didn't play for a month. I'm talking about all the teams, not the ones that won, just the ones that won. All 4 of these teams hadn't played in a month. And that's, part of the issue. And another thing about these bowl games, I heard Carter Freeman talking about this. I'm going to throw this in while we can.
Yep.
The bowl games sucked this year because I think most of them were blowouts. But at the same time, you had a bunch of guys going to the portal. Is the portal going to affect these bowl games? The difference next year and beyond is 12 teams will be in the playoffs now. You follow where I'm going with this? 12 teams. So there may be more players, as Carter was talking about, who may have some loyalty to their program, saying, you know what, I think I have a chance at a national championship. I want to get a ring. And I'm not going to just jump to the portal and go to another school. So we'll see if it helps out some of these bowl games, because the bowl games will be hosting these playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, this is also incumbent upon the NCAA, where this has been the wild, wild west because there has not been.
There's no rules.
Yeah, there have not been any level of guidance from up top, and so they need to put some rules into. They need to better establish the calendar.
Yes.
We have signing day while the portal is still open and active and happening.
Crazy.
And so there needs to be a better establishment
in the
of the
portal
calendar.
Who actually got a chance to play in some bowl games. It's like the coach decided, or they decided they wanted to. It's insane. There needs to be some rules.
100%.